Hello everybody, I'm Scott Favor with Virginia Mobile Air Conditioning Systems, also known as VMAX. Today we're going to talk about the Webasto AirTop 2000 STC air heater. The kit we're going to talk about today is a 12 volt diesel kit with Smartemp Control right from Webasto. You order that part number, again the 501255A, you're going to get this box. You can see our part number label right here. And these are the contents you're going to get. So let's pop it open and see what it is. So typical of the air heaters, when you open the box, you find another box in here. This has got your heater in it. The other portion of the package has got all the accessories it's going to take to connect the heater to your vehicle. This is a universal kit. It's not made to fit any specific vehicle. However, there are two specific items about it. Number one, it must be diesel. Number two, it must be a 12 volt electrical system. So other than that, universal, it'll work with just about any kind of vehicle. First item out of our box is our instruction manual set. The instruction manuals have the mounting templates for making all the holes to connect the heater to the surface you want to mount it to. You've got two mounting options as are both shown on this template, the 4-inch hole pattern or the individual hole pattern. You can use whichever of those that you need. We've got our instruction book. This is a 39-page instruction manual. It's got all the do's and don'ts, the tips and tricks, how to install each individual part of the heater, from the fuel lines to the exhaust lines to the air intake lines to the electrical connections. It's all in here. So very thorough instruction manual. Other piece of paper we have in here is the operating instructions. Something important to note about the little operating instruction pamphlet is back here on the back page is the warranty disclaimer. So if you have any questions about what the warranty is, it's right there on the back page. All right, so that's our installation package. You'll definitely need to refer to that as you're installing your heater and save these installation instructions, because in the future, if you add additional accessories to your heater, the instructions for adding those accessories might be in here too. So just hang on to that for yourself. So first thing we'll do, let's pop the heater open. The heater is roughly the size of a shoebox, so beforehand, when you're thinking about what it is you need to order and you're thinking about the type of space that you got to fit this heater into, think about a shoebox and give yourself a couple of extra inches room each way, and that'll usually get you done as far as what you need on figuring the size or the amount of space you need to mount this heater. So we're going to open up our box and see our heater in here. So this is the AirTop 2000. The gasoline heaters and diesel heaters all look identical. The heater construction is the same. It's just the fuel type that it uses is different. So on the top of the heater, we've got our arrow for direction of flow. This is the direction that the air pulls through the heater for heating the cabin. So you have your cool cabin air in here, it gets heated inside the heater and pushed out here into your ducting. This kit does include ducting, which you'll see in a minute. Not all kits do include ducting. Ducting is an option. You can use it or not. If you're putting the heater inside of a cabinet or behind a panel, you will probably need to use ducting. You'll need to duct your fresh air in and duct your heated air out into your space. So on the top cover, this is our harness cover. This is where you connect your main harness. It just pops off. You plug your main harness in here and then run the main harness on to the other parts of your installation. On the bottom of the heater, we've got 4 mounting studs. These are going to mount to your mounting surface. In the center here, we've got, this is your fuel connection, so your fuel line. It's going to pump fuel into your heater right here. We've got your combustion air exhaust and your combustion air intake ports. The AirTop 2000s use 22 millimeter combustion air intake and 22 millimeter combustion exhaust. This little wire here in the bottom hanging out of our combustion air intake, this is our fuel pump harness. So when you're installing your fuel pump, it's going to connect here. Webasto does not put the terminal housing on here in an effort to make it easier for your installation. So once you get this installed, you'll put the housing on, plug it into your fuel pump, and you'll be good to go. Don't put this housing on until you're ready to plug it in, because it takes special tools to get it off. So once it's on, it's on. It's pretty good size, about an inch maybe one way and 3/4 of an inch the other way. So if you're trying to work these through a small hole, which is why the housing's not on here, it may not fit. So they leave it off. You can get it through a small hole, put your housing on, and then plug everything together. So that's our air heater. When you're installing it, if it's possible, make sure that this label is visible. That label, this is your serial number, your data plate. This has got your serial number, your model number, all that good stuff on it. If you have a technician servicing the heater, they might need to get access to your serial number. So that's it with the heater. Our next item we're going to pull out of the box here, this is our package with the mounting hardware in it. We've got our floor gasket. This is about a 1-inch thick gasket. Looks like this guy right here. So this is what the gasket looks like. It's a nice foam material. It's about 1 inch thick. When you're mounting, you would want to use this method with the gasket. If you have an irregular or uneven mounting surface, this gasket would take up those irregularities and make sure you've got a good seal on the mounting surface. Then you've got your mounting plate. It's a heavy steel black powder coated plate, about 1/8 of an inch thick. So your gasket attaches to the plate attaches to the heater, and the plate attaches to the floor. Also in here is a small rubber gasket. It's an oval shape. It attaches to the bottom of the heater, so that seals between the heater and the plate. That thick gasket seals between the plate and the floor. I'll show you. So there's also the washers and nuts in here for attaching the heater, the washers and nuts for those studs I showed you. So what you get, your foam gasket, your mounting plate. So these go together like this. Get this oval shaped rubber gasket right there, fits on the bottom of the heater, so that would seal between the heater and this plate. And then you've got this nice thick gasket to take up any irregularities in your mounting surface. You would then clamp this to the floor. Your heater mounts on top here like this. So what you've done is you've cut a hole in the floor to make passage for your inlet and outlet and your fuel, and essentially separated this to be the outside of the vehicle at this point. So this stuff is all attached onto the floor. You've got a good seal. You're safe, because we never want to put the combustion air inlet, combustion air exhaust, or fuel in a sealed space with a person. It's not a good idea. Make sure all this stuff is outside. The heater needs to be inside. Make sure all those connections and all those things are outside the vehicle to keep the occupant safe. So next thing we're going to pull out of the box is our wiring harness. So this is our main wiring harness. It looks like a lot. It's not really that much. We've got our ring terminals here. These are going to connect to your battery power. Followed next by our fuse holders. Notice these are waterproof fuse holders. These are okay for mounting outside the vehicle or inside the vehicle, wherever you can find a suitable location. Then you've got the connector for your controller. Notice this is an 8-terminal connector. So Smartemp Controls use 8 terminals here at the end, whereas the standard rheostat control only uses 4. So different connector. Then we've got our main connector, which plugs into our heater. So this is going to go into that under that little cover that I showed you earlier. Battery connections, fuses, connection to our controller. That's it for the main harness. It's just extra long. It's universal kit. They don't know what kind of vehicle you're going to put it in, so they try and give you plenty of length to work with. Next item's our Smartemp controller. So you open up the box and you get the Smartemp control unit. This is a programmable digital timer. You can program start and stop times with this timer. The display will show you the temperature. It's got a nice LCD backlit display on there. There's an instant on button, so you don't have to specifically use a pre-programmed start time, but you can use the pre-programmed time, or you can simply push the instant on off button. So important to note, when you're buying the kit that already has a Smartemp included, you see the Smartemp, it's only the control. You see the main wiring harness that has the plug for the Smartemp made into the main wiring harness. The important part to note, if you buy a kit or already have a kit that has the standard rheostat control like this, the standard rheostat control has a 4-pin harness. This will not plug into that. It won't do it. The Smartemp control requires an additional power source, so there's actually 3 fuse holders on that wiring harness instead of the 2 that would be on this wiring harness. So if you want to go from this control to the Smartemp Control, you have to upgrade. So what Webasto has is an upgrade kit, which is this kit right here. So this is a part number 5013700A. This is an Airtop 2000 STC Smartemp Control upgrade kit. What you get with this kit is you get an adapter harness. So you get this adapter harness along with your Smartemp Control. You're going to need the original harness that came with your heater. You're going to plug this harness into your original harness, as well as plug this harness into your power supply. That's going to give you your 8-pin terminal to plug into this, your power supply. So you're going to use 2 harnesses in that case. So you cannot order simply a Smartemp Control to plug into a harness that was originally using a rheostat. It doesn't work that way. The harnesses are physically different. The components need physically different things to operate. So, Smart Temperature Upgrade Kit, if you've got the rheostat control, part number 5013700A. Just dawned on me, I forgot to mention some part numbers. The floor gasket we mentioned earlier, if you need this part separately, it is available. It's a part number 902001. And that mounting plate, if for some reason you need that steel mounting plate separately, it is available separately, part number 900700. So that's our controls, our wiring harness. The next item we're going to pull out of the box is our fuel pump harness. So this harness, there's that connector I was showing you. This is the one that connects to the pump. This is the one that connects to that pin. You can see it's probably about an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch this direction. So this harness connects from the 2 wires that came out of the bottom of the heater. The other end connects to your fuel pump. And that's what you need. Notice it's got wire loom on it. The other harness also had wire loom on it. There's some kits out there from Europe. The harnesses do not have weatherproof fuse holders. They have covers on the fuses, but the back of the holder is completely open to the elements. So some of those don't have weatherproof fuse holders, and some of those do not have protective wire loom. So this is built a little heavier duty. Next item we're going to pull out of the box is our fuel tank standpipe. So this standpipe, you drill down into your fuel tank, fit your standpipe in there, cut the length. This is going to make the fuel supply to your fuel pump and then onto your heater. So your fuel tank standpipe. Next item out is a pack of fuel system parts. So in this pack we've got our fuel pump. We've got plenty of fuel line. It's a very durable plastic fuel line, several meters in here. We've got our fuel pump hanger, which is here. Fuel pump hanger looks like this guy right here. This is the newer style pump hanger. It's 100% rubber with the exception of the metal insert here at the top, which is where you're going to put the bolt to mount the hanger in the vehicle. So the old style hanger was a metal hanger with a rubber coating on it. This newer style 100% rubber hanger does a really good job of reducing the amount of noise that the fuel pump makes as it's operating. If you haven't been around these, the fuel pump has just got a little piston in here that works kind of like a squirt gun. So you get a tick, 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 and with each tick you get a little pump of fuel. Well, that little tick can be loud depending on your installation. Sometimes that noise is actually transferred into the chassis of the vehicle when you're using that older steel clamp, because it's steel, it's rigid, so it has a tendency to transfer that noise. This rubber hanger has a tendency to absorb that noise. So if you've got an installation already and you're looking for a fairly easy upgrade to do to try and reduce some of the noise put out by your fuel pump, you can order this pump hanger separately. It's a part number 9001441B. Pretty easy retrofit for you if you'd like to try that. So that's our first bag of fuel system parts. Something important to note about the fuel pumps on these. The older fuel pumps were different. This is a newer style fuel pump. Webasto's changed the pump. They're trying to work their way towards using a single pump for as many different heaters as they can. This is a pulse width modulation controlled pump, a PWM pump. They've changed the controls in the heaters basically from analog to digital, kind of to keep it simple. These pumps do not require a full 12 volts or a full 24 volts to operate, whereas the previous DP30s did. So it's important to note, if you're trying to troubleshoot these and you do put 12 volts directly to this pump, you can damage this pump. The older pumps, it was okay to do that as part of troubleshooting to figure out if you had a bad pump or not. This pump does not see full system voltage. It only sees a few volts. So if you put full system voltage to it, you could burn up your pump. Don't do that. These pumps are $200 or $300 a pop. So don't put full voltage to your DP42 pumps. All right, next item out of here, we've got our duct work. So this is 60 millimeter flexible duct tubing. This is high temperature rated tubing. So this is the optional duct work that we talked about. Goes right on the end of your heater here, and then is going to fit to your louvers. As I said, this is high temperature rated duct. This is not the same stuff that you generally see for automotive use, which is usually some sort of, you know, accordion type plastic material. This is an aluminized paper construction. It's flexible. It's real good construction. It's going to fit on your heater. It's going to fit on your louvers. You'll see the louver bags in a minute. There's a sleeve on the louvers, so they fit right on here like this. You then clamp it on. So you get 1 meter of ducting with this kit. Here's our bag of ducting components. So in this bag, we've got our louvers, some wire ties, some mounting screws, all of the hose clamps that are going to connect the end of that ducting to your louvers. So in here we have an intake louver grate and a discharge louver grate. Let me show you what those look like. So this is our discharge. This is what's going to go on the outlet. Your air is going to come out here. It does rotate 360 degrees, but it does not close. You cannot close these off. If you close off the air supply coming out of the heater, you could create an overheating situation which would shut the heater down. So you've always got to have your air outlet open. The inlet grate looks like this. So when they come disassembled. This one as well. The end will come off of the sleeve. The sleeves are actually the same. The only difference is the insert. So when you install these, what you do, they're meant to go in a panel, but they don't have to go in a panel. You can just fit them in the end of the hose. So you have a panel, like my panel. You cut a hole in your panel. You fit your louver or your intake grate, which is this one, into the panel. You'll notice there's 3 little holes right here. These are your retaining holes for your screws. So you're going to need to drill these 3 holes, put your screws in there, which is going to hold your louver or your inlet grate into your panel that you're mounting on. It's just that simple. And then you're just going to snap your end on there. And bam, you're done. So the inlet grate in this case, there's a little grate on here to prevent stuff getting sucked into the heater, because that thing gets super hot. So if you get some paper or something stuck in there, it could cause you a problem. So that's how your inlet grate would go. Under your bunk, if you're in a bunk of a truck, this would go on the bunk wall there below. Make sure that your inlet and outlet don't get blocked or obstructed anyway, because as I said, that could cause a high temperature safety cutout situation for you. All right, so next in the box, oh, look, we missed some fuel system components in this little bag. So in here we've got our fuel filter, we've got our fuel line clamps, we've got several pieces of fuel line, rubber fuel line connectors. Let me show you what those look like. I got some examples for you. So fuel system connectors. So we've got our clamps, which are going to hold everything together. Webasto uses these clamps, which you'll notice is not a typical worm drive clamp. These clamps do a great job of sealing an even 360 degree pressure around the hose, thereby doing as much as possible to preventing any air leaks into the hose. This is a standard worm drive clamp. We do not want to use this type of clamp on your hoses. You shouldn't have to. Webasto gives you plenty in the kit. Here's what your fuel filter looks like. Looks like this guy right here. This is not the same kind of fuel filter that you get at the hardware store for your lawnmower. This fuel filter's got a 25 to 35 micron rating, and it's got a ceramic core. So you don't want a paper cord filter like you would get for your lawnmower. That's why Webasto uses this one with a ceramic core. Fuel filter part number, if you need one of these extras, a 504-87171A. Again, the fuel filter. The fuel line clamp, if you need one of these, the screws in here are pretty small. They're not really all that difficult to tear up, so there's plenty in the kit, but if you needed an extra one, they're part number 5012000A. How they go together: this is the fuel line you saw in that other bag. This is the little pieces of fuel line rubber connectors that I showed you in the bag we had a second ago. You put your fuel line clamp there and slide your fuel hose into your connector. All your components have male ends on them like this. Your fuel pump, you saw the little connector on the bottom of the heater. You just slide them together like this. Tighten your clamps down and you're good. Your fuel filter does have a directional flow arrow on it, so you can't get that wrong. It's kind of hard to see the arrow because of the plastic, but there is a directional flow on there. Make sure you get that right. Next item we're going to pull out of here is our combustion air inlet tubing. This goes onto the bottom of the heater where I showed you the combustion air goes inside. Again, it's an aluminized foil construction, really good durability, about a ½ meter in length. Next item we got out is our stainless steel exhaust tubing, about 1 meter in length. Again, the combustion air inlet I just showed you and this one have a 22 millimeter inside diameter. Your combustion exhaust, when you're installing your heater, make sure you keep this away from anything that's sensitive to heat. This thing does get hot, just like the exhaust pipe coming off the engine of your car, so keep it away from fuel lines, brake lines, other electrical parts. And then the last thing we have in our box is our bag of clamps. These are the clamps for the combustion air intake tube I just showed you in our exhaust tube. There's a couple clamps in here to hang the exhaust tube in the vehicle, one that clamps the tube to the heater, the clamp that holds the combustion intake onto the heater, and then a couple of nuts and bolts. So that's the kit. We covered the Smartemp accessory pack that comes, or that you can get as an option if you have a rheostat controller. This kit comes with the Smartemp, so you get your programmable start top times, you get your instant on feature with the Smartemp. You also get a ventilation mode that you don't get with the rheostat control, so you can just run the fan to move a little bit of air around. That's it for this kit, folks. Again, part number 5012555A. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call, 757-650-0957. Hit us up on the web, www.vmax.net. If you don't want to call us, call your local Webasto distributor. They'd like to hear from you. Walk in, talk to them. They'd like to help you. All right, gang, have a great day.